It's confirmed. This video is now on the cast for the upcoming Dune movie. This video is going to be a stunt double for all the CGI worms. Every single one of them. There are a lot of cool things about the worms but never see them. They are referred to as makers by the native Fremen and are spoken of with a mixture of fear and reverence. Two scenes are integral to establishing the sandworms as sublime beings. Where the Duke pointed, crescent dune tracks spread shadow ripples toward the horizon, and, running through them as a level line stretching into the distance, came an elongated mount in motion, a cresting of sand. It reminded Paul of the way a big fish disturbed the water when swimming just under the surface. This is the first time we really see the sandworms, and even then, its physical appearance is hidden from us. Yes, we are aware that it is a worm disturbing the sand around it, but the fact that the worm isn't visible turns it from an animal defending its territory to a massive, hidden force coming to destroy the small humans around it. In short, sublime. The worm's hostility toward industry and machinery is worth noting. Shortly after we first spot the worm in the desert, it destroys a factory crawler that mines for spice. Flecks of dust shadowed the sand around the crawler now. The big machine began to tip down to the right. A gigantic sand whirlpool began forming there to the right of the crawler. A wide hole emerged from the sand. The hole's diameter was at least twice the length of the crawler, Paul estimated. He watched as the machine slid into that opening in a billow of dust and sand. The hole pulled back. The language used to describe the attack avoids using any direct references to the worm. What destroys the factory crawler is a hole and a whirlpool. Arrakis consumes machinery and industry, and the sandworms exist as that consuming force. They also destroy anything and anyone wearing a shield, with the Imperial planetologist Keynes saying, "No man wearing a shield has ever survived such an attack." We understand the size of the worms given their ability to consume factory crawlers without much effort, but in the second part of the novel, after Paul and his mother have been exiled, do we finally get a good reference for just how large these beasts are? It came from their right, with an uncaring majesty that could not be ignored. A twisting burrow mount of sand cut through the dunes within their field of vision. The mount lifted in front, dusting away like a bow wave in water. Then it was gone, coursing off to the left. The sound diminished, died. "I've seen space frigates that were smaller," Paul whispered. The sandworms are compared to spaceships by Paul and are still larger. The very things that allow humanity to travel the galaxy are dwarfed by the immensity of the worms. In these moments, they become that thing analogous to terror that Burke wrote about. One of the famous quotes that people like to share about Dune is the one that says, "He who controls the spice controls the universe," because the fictional, addictive, hallucinogenic spice melange is integral to the survival of humanity and only comes from Arrakis. While the spice is important, and we are constantly reminded of its effects by the color of the Fremen's eyes, there would be no spice without the sandworms. Paul deduces early in the novel that if all the worms died, there would be no more spice, and the worm's importance to the creation of the spice is teased to us by the aforementioned title the Fremen give them of makers. The cycle of their births and deaths is integral to creating spice sands, which are then extracted by the factory crawlers. By consuming industry and parasitic humans, the worms are defending the sanctity of their very existence. And later in the novel, it is revealed to us what can happen when a young sandworm is drowned. They expel their innards, pre-spice, and then create the water of life, which is an extremely powerful drug that allows whoever drinks it to gain the memories of the previous drinkers. In this case, the Bene Gesserit, Reverend Mothers. By killing worms, humans are capable of transcending to another level of existence. Those who consume the waters of life, as well as those who consume large quantities of melange, which can also extend one's life and give them a form of precognition, inherit the sublimity of the worms. The grandeur and the terror that the sandworms invoke is passed down, and only then can they be used and controlled. After Paul's assimilation into Fremen culture and position as the messianic Mod Dib, the sandworms stop being a terrible unseen force and become a vessel for Paul's ambitions and the rest of the Fremen. A well-kept secret by them is that sandworms can be ridden, and they use this to travel around the unhospitable southern deserts. By consuming melange and becoming addicted to it, Paul inherits the sublimity of the worms, and uses this to then ride atop them and become one with them. His patience to wait and use the storm to destroy the Citadel shows that he understands Arrakis and how to use it. It is not the power of industry or human creations like ships, crawlers and drills that finally bend the planet to the will of humanity, but by the joining of people and the spice, of people and the worms. The sandworms of Arrakis inspire awe and terror in those who do not understand them. Not only with the characters in the novel, but also us as readers. They are Burke's thing analogous to terror, the manifestation of the power of the planet Dune, and the force by which Paul Atreides retakes his dukedom and ultimately sends out his Fremen warriors on a galactic jihad. Without the presence of the sandworms, nothing is possible. He who controls the worms controls the universe. You heard my father speak of desert power, Paul said. There it is. The surface of this planet is ours. No storm, nor creature, nor condition can stop us.